Hi friends, this is Stan. I just want to talk to you about this concept that I have named, this video topic that I have named, how to instantly know if a spiritual concept or guru is satanic or not. Once you start to become interested in spiritual matters in this world, you will usually be presented with a plethora of ideas and concepts. Excuse me. You will find various gurus, you will find books, you will find millions of videos online, all of them promising you various sort of glittering ideas and concepts, and it can be quite tough to discern what is the good stuff and what is the bad stuff within the spiritual realm. I myself was in New Age for 30 years, and I promise you I was really thoroughly deceived by satanic information and satanic practices. And what I want to share to you today and impart with you today is that it is actually possible quite quickly to discern if something is of a satanic origin or if it is from God. And then that means the good stuff, right? The way you discern this is quite simple, actually, because within the New Age environment and within all satanic doctrines, there are a few things that you can look for that always reveals itself as being satanic. If you go into the Bible in Genesis 3:5, you will find what Satan is saying to Adam and Eve already in the very beginning of human history, or the analogy of the very beginning of human history. And that is very revealing, that Genesis 3:5, because that is where Satan actually reveals his point of view and also the spirituality that he basically founds there. The concept for satanic approach to spirituality becomes very clear within those very few words. Now, please allow me to read this for you. He says, Satan, "For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof," the day you eat of the tree of knowledge. "For God knows that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Now that is the key centerpiece of all satanic doctrine, and that is that it's all about you. It's all about you. It's not about God. It's not about your fellow man. It's about you becoming like gods by eating of the tree of occult knowledge. That is the core tenet of all satanic doctrine, that you need to read a lot of and absorb a lot of occult knowledge in order for you to become like God yourself, so you don't even need God. You want to become like God yourself. So that's very, very easy way to start to see if something is of divine or satanic origin. Because if you look into almost any New Age teaching, you can find all of them, from the law of attraction to all of those where you need to develop yourself and vibrate in various states, or if you want to become a light worker and all of that. All of it has to do with you, developing you. It's completely egocentric. It's only about you development, and you becoming like God. That is the core satanic principle. So that's how you can easily discern between all of the doctrines out there which ones are of satanic origin. To contrast that, the satanic teachings with the godly teachings, you will need to read another part of the Bible, which is Matthew 22 and verse 36 to 40. If you go in the Bible and you read Matthew 22 verse 36 to 40, you will read how God sees these things, how Jesus teaches us to be, and what is the most important things about the highest law for mankind in the eyes of Jesus. And listen carefully and you will hear that is a complete inversion of the Luciferian. The Satanic doctrine is the complete inversion, meaning the complete opposite of what you're about to hear now. Because in Matthew 22, verse 36 to 40, it says, 36, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Meaning that what is the most important part of all of the laws that God has for us. And Jesus, it says in 37, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Meaning it's about loving the Lord, loving God, not loving yourself. It's fine to love yourself, because you need to love your fellow man as yourself also. But that's not the key tenet. The key tenet is to love thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, Jesus says. And then it says in verse 39, And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So notice here what and maybe I should finish and say, he finally say, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Meaning that these are the two commandments. These are the most important ones of all of them, because on these hang all the law and the prophets. So Jesus tells us that the most important two laws of all of them is to love God, thy God, with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. With the heart, your soul, your mind, you are supposed to love God. And secondly, he says, and the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So love God with all your soul, your heart, and your mind. And love your neighbor also. That's the second, also really important commandment. These are the two big ones that there is. There are others, but these are the most important ones, he says. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So as you can see, it's a completely different perspective. It's all about loving God and loving your neighbor and your fellow man like you love yourself. Whereas in the Satanic doctrine, all of that is gone. All of that is gone. It's only about you eating occulted knowledge for you to become like God yourself. So that is the Satanic take on it, and the godly one is to love God and your fellow man like yourself. It's two completely different approaches. So it's a really simple way to always discern if something is Satanic and Luciferian or if it is from God. It's really, really simple. If it's all about you, it's all about you ascending, all about you vibrating faster and faster, all about you attracting this and attracting that, all about you gaining material riches, all about you reading more and more occulted knowledge so you can expand your consciousness more and more and more and more and become more and more like God, well, then you know that is what is said in Genesis 3:5 by Satan himself. Then you know you're following Satanic doctrine. If, on the other hand, you start to submit yourself to God and understand that it is God that is God and you that is a human being, and you start to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, and you start to love your fellow man as yourself, then you are following the plan that God has for you. Then you are following God's law. Two of the highest laws of God. Actually, they're the two highest laws according to Jesus. So there you have it. It's quite easy to discern once you know that. Once you understand that everything that is about only you, expanding, growing your consciousness and all of that, and vibrating fast and all of that, you know it's Satanic. And doing it by occult knowledge and all of that, you know it's Satanic. And once you start to practice a life where you actually love God and you love your fellow man as yourself, well, then you know you're following God's ways and Jesus' ways and the Jesus teachings. Really easy way to discern. I hope this was helpful to you. If you liked it, please click subscribe below the video here, and also click the little notification gear so that you will hear from me again another time. Thank you very much for following along, and take care out there. See you next time. Bye.